Welcome to week 3 of our Healthy Weekly Meal Prep series. Today's menu features all sorts of bright, fresh flavors that I hope you guys will love. It all starts with some gorgeous maple glazed salmon. So I've got my salmon fillets laid out in a baking dish, and I'm just going to mix up a really simple glaze for them, starting with some beautiful maple syrup. And to that, I'm going to add a splash of balsamic vinegar, a clove of minced garlic, some Dijon mustard, some salt, some pepper, and some red chili flakes if you feel so inclined. I'm just going to pour my glaze over my salmon fillets, and into the oven they go for between 15 and 20 minutes. Once they're ready, they can be stored in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 days. I like to eat them with pasta or with salad or with this gorgeous herbed quinoa I'm about to show you. For this beautiful herbed quinoa, we are going to be combining some quinoa with some vegetable broth and a clove of minced garlic in a small saucepan on the stove. Once the mixture reaches a boil, we're going to cover it, turn the heat down to low, and let it simmer for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we're gonna turn off the heat and let it sit for another 5 minutes. Once it's ready, we are going to add even more flavor with a drizzle of olive oil, some fresh lemon juice, some chopped parsley and basil, and finally, some salt and pepper. If you wanted to, you could also add some crumbled goat cheese to this. It would be amazing. We're going to stir it all together, and it can be stored in your fridge for between 4 and 5 days. Next up, we are making some oven roasted green beans. I've trimmed my green beans, and I'm just gonna toss them with some olive oil and some salt and pepper. We're going to roast these green beans for 8 to 10 minutes, and once they're ready, we're going to top them with some crunchy slivered almonds. What a great treat, eaten hot or cold. Next on today's menu, I have an amazing treat, my sweet and tangy cucumber salad. So I'm starting with some very thinly sliced cucumber. If you're not confident with your knife skills, you can use a mandolin for this job. Once we've got our cucumbers cut, we want to let the water drain out for about 30 minutes. We're going to add some thinly sliced red onions to our cucumber, and then we're going to make our sweet and tangy dressing. For our sweet and tangy dressing, we are going to combine some white vinegar with a little bit of sugar, some mustard seed, and some salt and pepper. We're going to whisk this together until the sugar dissolves completely, and then we are going to toss our cucumbers in it. The longer this yumminess sits, the more delicious it becomes. Next up on today's menu, we have one of my very favorite dips to serve with fresh veggies. It's my roasted red pepper dip, and it could not be simpler to put together, especially when you use jarred roasted red peppers like I'm doing today. If you did feel like you wanted to roast your own red peppers, by all means, go ahead. So I've got 2 roasted red peppers in my food processor, and to that I am adding some plain yogurt and some crumbled feta cheese. I'm going to top this with just a little bit of my homemade Greek seasoning and press blend. This yummy dip will last in your fridge for between 4 and 5 days, and I think it's best served with some fresh tomatoes, some fresh cauliflower florets, and some crunchy celery. Finally on today's menu, I've got one of my very favorite make-ahead breakfast ideas. It's my crustless broccoli and cheddar quiche, and the coolest part is I like to make mine in individual mason jars. If you don't want to use mason jars for this recipe, that's completely fine. You could also do this in a muffin tin or in a pie tin. Both would work just as well. You just want to make sure that they are very well greased because you don't want your quiche to stick. So for this recipe, we are getting started with a head of broccoli that I've just cut up into very small florets. I'm going to steam it for just a minute or 2 to help the broccoli soften up. Once the broccoli is ready, I'm going to scoop it into each of my well-greased mason jars. Next, in a mixing bowl, I'm going to whisk some eggs with some milk and some cream. I'm using both in this recipe because I find it makes for a much richer quiche, but if you wanted to keep it on the lighter side, you could skip the cream and use all milk. Totally up to you. I'm going to whisk this all together well and finish it off with some salt, some pepper, and some freshly grated sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to pour the mixture equally into each of my mason jars and top each with a little more shredded cheddar for good measure. Into the oven these go at 350 degrees until they are completely set. Once they've cooled, you can store them in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days. They can be eaten cold or heated up in the microwave, whatever you prefer. I hope you all enjoyed today's menu and that you'll give it a try. If you do, be sure to tweet or Instagram me a photo because you know I love seeing what you're coming up with in your very own kitchens. And don't forget that we are still in the middle of our 30 Days of Salads campaign on Instagram. So be sure to follow me at the Domestic Geek 1 for a brand new salad recipe every single day through April. And finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Domestic Geek because there's lots more deliciousness where this came from.